Hey folks, Dave back here live tonight. And tonight it's late, and but it's something I wanted to do to kind of get me through a tough time here. As you can see, I got all my metal church gear on, and that can only mean one thing. And yeah, sadly, yesterday I heard of the passing of the lead singer Mike Howe from Metal Church, and about a year and a half ago, Neil Peart died, as you know, from Rush, and that hit me hard. Let me tell you, I'm not a celebrity worship type of guy. I mean, I got my favorite, athletes and musicians and actors and actresses, but I don't fawn all over these people. And I've bumped into a few in my time. Hey, that's kind of cool or whatever, but I've never was that type of person. And so what happens? Neil Peart died a year and a half ago, and it hit me, and it hit me hard. I'm going to change my color here to go more red. There we go. How about that? Nice and red. And that hit me hard. It did. When Neil Peart died, it hit me hard, and I couldn't believe how hard it actually hit me. It really did. And I did a show that night too, and I pulled out some of my stuff and I showed that off here. And now, yesterday, I get the news that another one of my favorite bands is now probably done because somebody died. And the thing is, as I was a kid growing up in a trailer park, with a single mom, that's kind of how I was, and I took the guitar, and music became my drug, and I'm glad it did. I never did any drugs. I didn't, and I was in metal bands and rock bands and concerts the whole bit, and I just never wanted to do it. I'm glad I did. Metal music or whatever was my drug, and I remember when I was about 18. This is going back into the mid 80s, and I remember working at IHOP. Yes, I did. I worked at Denny's and I worked at IHOP. That's no joke. I did. And we were having a bad night, as you do if you've ever worked in a restaurant. It gets very stressful, and everyone went out back and smoked pot, the joint, whatever you want to call it. I went in my car and I put on Ronnie James Dio, and I cranked out Rainbow in the Dark as loud as my stereo would go, and I was all set to go back in and tackle whatever was going on. And so music was my thing. Rush was my main band from mid 70s, late 70s to late 80s, and then they went off in a crazy direction. And I was playing in bands, and there's no way you could play any of the newer Rush stuff. You just couldn't in a band. But Dio, who was my other big band, I could play Dio, and even I could play some Metal Church. Now Metal Church wasn't that big, okay, admittedly so we didn't play a lot of it, but I still got the guys in the band, when I played in bands in high school and out of high school, to play some Metal Church stuff. And so now, Ronnie James Dio is gone, Neil Peart is gone, and now Mike Howe from Metal Church is gone. And the original singer from Metal Church passed away many years ago from a car accident too. So I like them both. I like the original singer and I like Mike Howe. The original singer was David Wayne, Reverend David Wayne. And so, yeah, so now this one kind of like, no, all the bands I really, really liked growing up and would still keep an eye on. I'd still buy their albums and listen to this stuff. Now that's done. I know I still have other bands I listen to and the whole bit, but my big three was Rush, Dio, and Metal Church. And Metal Church is a lesser known band, but for some reason, I remember going into a place. Let's see, I get it right here. I went into a place called Rocket Records in Saugus, Massachusetts, and it was a record store. And this is 84 or 85. And I walked in the Rocket Records and I see this thing right here. I see this. And I'm like, what is this Metal Church band? I look on the back and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I'm looking at the songs. I'm like, okay. And the last song was called Highway Star. And it's a Blackmore, Gillan, Lord, Pace, and Glover. So I was like, oh, they did a cover of Highway Star by Deep Purple. Now, I always thought that was ingenious. When you put out a record, to put on a cover tune. That way people could relate to it, So I'm like, look at this cover. This is unbelievable. You know, you get the Gibson here. It looks like a cross, and the logo here is pretty neat. And you get some smoke going on. And as an 18, I think it was 17 or 18 when I bought this. I was like, this is unbelievable because I'm in a metal band, and I'm like, this is great. And I look in the back, and it's like, oh yeah, this is great. And so I picked it up, and I played the crap out of this thing, and I love this album. And this is still the original album. This is the original album I bought back in 1985. And I didn't keep many records because, records, when you went to cassettes and then you went to CDs and the whole bit, I get rid of all my records except for 3. I kept 3 records. I kept Metal Church. Let me see. Let me put that over here. So I kept the Metal Church record. I also kept, if you can believe it, I kept the Black Album by Spinal Tap. I did. And this is the one that opens up, and it's got all the fake records from Spinal Tap, and it opens up here. And I think it's just the one. Yes, it's got the one record in here, but this is the actual record. Now, I haven't played any of these in such a long, long time, but this is Spinal Tap here. This is Smell the Glove by Spinal Tap, the Black Album. So I kept Spinal Tap. I kept Metal Church, and the big one here that I kept as a kid, my very, very first Rush album, Rush 2112. And this is the one that opens up. Yes, it opens up, and I have this on my wall. I had to take it off the wall to show you, but this is the one I took down when Neil Peart died a year and a half ago, and I showed this one off here. And this is the one that's got the big poem on the back here by Anonymous 2112. So I kept 3 records when I get rid of all my records. I kept Rush 2112, I kept Spinal Tap, and I kept the very, very Metal Church album. And why I think I kept this one is because this was released, this is their original one. It was done on Ground Zero Records, which I think was their own record label. And I kept it because they were picked up, I want to say it was by Elektra or CBS. One of the two picked up Metal Church. And then they re-released it. But I have the original one that was done, whenever that was done. That was back in 85, before they were picked up by a major record company. And they played in Boston. I think the club was called Celebration. So I need, it was 86, I think they came around. They were supposed to play with Anthrax, and Anthrax didn't show up. That would have been a great show. But Metal Church showed up at this club called Celebration. Wednesday was heavy metal night, and I was 5-6 feet away from the stage. I got right up front for these guys. I wanted to see these guys, and it was a great show. And this is the shirt that I bought that night. It's a large, and it don't fit me. I don't even know if it'll get around my arm anymore, but this is the original shirt, and I have this hanging up over my amplifier behind me here next to my guitars. So, yeah, this band meant a lot to me growing up, and it's just, music was a big thing for me, and I must have really liked these guys because I kept the album, and I kept the shirt of all my moves. And I saw a thing on Facebook the other day, said the average person lives in 11 places. I don't know about houses or what, 11 places. I've lived in 11 places. And these guys have come with me to all 11 places there. And so you might know me as the hockey guy and the gaming guy, but I'm also a music guy. So if you dig into my channel, you'll see some of my old videos from the bands I was in from the 80s and the 90s in there. So music is a big part of my life too. I just don't have time to play anymore. I still, every now and then I'll buy a guitar and play it, but I just don't have time to play anymore, and I'm not in bands anymore. But yeah, I was. And so this hurts. This one hurts. When I heard that, I was crushed. Maybe not so much as Neil Peart, because Rush was a lot deeper with me, but with Mike Howe, and now, so Dio gone, and Rush gone, and now Metal Church gone. That's my big 3. And so I just wanted to come on and just talk about it a little bit here. And if I wanted to just show, what is it? Yeah, there it is right there. So right off the Metal Church website. Yeah, they got a mic. And I was shocked. I mean, this guy, he's my age, like maybe a year older than me, and he's in fantastic shape. And I saw him here in Massachusetts less than 2 years ago, and he was belting out the stuff, and it was unbelievable. And I met him after the show, because they all come up after the, little small little club, and I got to talk to them all after the show. And yeah, and well, when I first saw it on Monday night, I got to the rink, and I looked at my phone, And Metal Church says, "Oh, passing of one of our members." Now they got a lot. They have a lot of members in this band. Okay, they really do. They they've been around since the '80s, so they've had guys coming and going, as a lot of these '80s bands do. And I thought it was like maybe someone who filled in on guitar for a tour, or a technician, or somebody that played drums for an album and then left. And they were like, no, it's the lead singer. And they were like working on a new album and going to tour. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm still kind of in shock. And so why I kind of bring this up on the channel is, one, for me personally, just I wanted to just get on here and talk about it real quick to kind of make me feel a little bit better, like I did with Neil Peart, but also because my podcast, the Digital to Dice podcast, which some of you probably listen to, they're the band that we open the show and end the show with. And I emailed the band and the record company. I said, hey, can I use the new song By the Numbers for my podcast? Because you have to ask permission for that stuff. And so I got written permission and an email from the record company and says, yep. Because I emailed the band first and says, oh, talk to the record company. Luckily, they work really well together, the band and the record company, because they're a smaller band and a smaller record company. And so they were like, hey, they said, thanks for asking instead of just using it. I said, hey, no problem. Here's where you can find the podcast or whatever. And just By the Numbers kind of fits to what we're doing with cards and dice games and sports sims games. So it's all about numbers. So I thought that the title fit, and I thought it was a good driving introduction to the show, with the drums coming in, then the guitars coming in. It gets you pumped up. It gets me pumped up to do the show. And we play 10 or 15 seconds of it, and then we fade out with the other part of the song, the chorus, By the Numbers. And so they were really nice to let us use it there. And so I just wanted to come on and just say, to the band members of Metal Church that'll never watch this, that I've been a big fan since 1985 when I bought this album here. And this is the original album. I still have it. I showed it a couple times. This is the one on the independent label that I picked up at Rocket Records in Saugus. And I still hung on to that. I still hung on to the t-shirt that I got at the concert. It's a large. I don't think I've worn this thing in 35 years, but I still hung on to it. It still hangs on my wall. And I did pick up, I did keep like the CDs when it come out on CD. I got the Metal Church CD. So I made sure that I had this in all kinds of formats. I probably had the cassette as well. So that's the original one. I do like this one in here too. This is called Hanging in the Balance. This is another one of my favorite ones. This used to be my workout tape, my CD, when I used to put on the Walkman CD. That's what it was. And I would do my workout to this album here. Again, it's all high energy rock and roll. It really is. I just picked up Generation Nothing. It's okay. I think it had their second singer on it. And then this one here, the live one here, is kind of cool. Now, this is the one. I got a package. I got this t-shirt. I got the CD. I got a bunch of guitar picks. And I also got this other t-shirt. This is the Fake Healer, I think it is. It's about getting, liposuction and all that other stuff that's called Fake Healer. So I got that t-shirt. I got a bunch of guitar picks. I got this one here. And this is all signed by the band members here. I'm trying to think where Mike Howe. Yeah, this would be Mike right here in the middle, I believe. I think that's Mike Howe. So I got the signed one here. So I got a nice little package, and I bought it right from the record company too. So they got all the money. I didn't go through Amazon, right to the record company. So, but yeah, so it just sad night for me here, and I just want to get on here just this late and just kind of express my feelings and my thoughts here, because it helped me get through the Neil Peart stuff. And again, I'm not very big on celebrity worship and celebrity crushes. I'm really not. But there's a few bands that were important to me for one reason or another. And I've seen Metal Church 3 or 4 times. I saw them again in 1985 or 86 when they came to Boston at that small club. I saw them in that small club. I was 6 feet away. It was beautiful. And I knew the album cover to cover. So every song they played, I knew. And they played one song. It was about a river, like river running. It was kind of a ballady song. And I remember a couple years ago, I said, I emailed them on Facebook. I Facebooked them and said, what was the name of that song? Do you guys still have it? You played it in Boston, and they couldn't remember the name of the song because, what's that, 35 years ago now? Or maybe, yeah, something like that. So they couldn't remember the name of the song. But I saw them in Boston when I was 18 or 19. And then I saw them Operation Rock and Roll. I don't know if you guys remember that one. The Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, I think maybe even Motorhead too. It was called Operation Rock and Roll. There was like 5 bands, and we saw them at Great Woods here in Massachusetts. And they handed out a tape afterwards too. I still got the tape. It's called Operation Rock and Roll, and it had a song from all the bands on this tape, and it was obviously sponsored by a radio station. But Metal Church was on there, and they opened up, and the Mike Howe was with them at that point, because it was the first 2 albums were with David Wayne, and then Mike Howe played I think 3 albums, and then he left, and they got another singer. And when that 3rd singer left, the band was going to fold, but Mike Howe came back a couple years ago and did 2 albums with him, and I have both of those albums, and they're both fantastic albums. And now, and sadly, he 55 years old. He was going to be 56 next month, I think. That's my age. And that's the other thing too, is when people your age or younger pass away, you start to think about your mortality, and it's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so just wanted to put this one out there. This will go along with my Neil Peart video that I did a 1.5 years ago. Just just kind of a sad night, because again, it ties into what I'm doing now. I play them on my podcast, and I talk about them. And they just released I think it was this was it this Classic Live? Yeah, I think it was Classic Live. No, they just released another one too, and I bought it on the iPod, the iPhone, so I don't have the CD for that. But it had a bunch of new songs on there. They did a cover of Black Betty. You guys probably know Black Betty. That was on there, and a handful of new songs. But yeah, there'll be no more Metal Church. I don't think. I'm pretty sure they're going to be done. When I talked to the guitar player after the show, like he didn't talk to me personally, so I did. But I mean, when he does his interviews, it's like, this is the band, and he didn't want to find another singer. So when Mike came back into the band, he kept the band going. But now that Mike's passed away, I don't think he's going to find it, because that's 2 out of the 3 singers now that have died, unfortunately. And yeah, but we will continue to honor them on the podcast. We will continue to play By the Numbers as our opening show and our ending music until they tell us we can't anymore, and then we won't. But hopefully they will. But yeah, just sad. It just, when Rush was kind of done touring anyway, and they were older guys, a little older than me. So when they stopped touring, it's okay. They've been touring since like the early 70s. So, you expected that. Ronnie James Dio, boy, he was old when I was 18. So when he passed away, it's like, okay, he's really old too. And I wasn't expecting him to tour that much. And his last few tours were, oh boy, some of those videos are tough to watch. They really are. But these guys here are my age, and they're still out there rocking in the small clubs. And so this one hits home. Sadly, it just does. And as Al says, yeah, we start to think about when people pass away close to our age. And here's a guy that was in better shape than I am. He took care of himself. And and at this point here, I don't think this was the type of band that everybody was out doing all the drugs and the crazy stuff that they did 30 years ago. I think, when every interview I saw with this band, they were like normal people, like, hey, we're glad to be out here at our age. We got to take care of ourselves a little bit more. A lot of us don't even drink anymore because we can't do it. And then, so here's a guy that just, 30 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, that happens all the time. Overdose or, drinking too much or whatever it is. But here's a guy that was pretty fit, pretty good, took care of himself. And yeah, and unfortunately. So, oh boy. Yeah. So this is a tough one here, but I just wanted to come on. So if there's any other Metal Church fans that might stumble on this video, because I had a lot of people stumble on my Neil Peart video that were just Rush fans and left some nice comments, and just kind of we reminisced a little bit. But so yeah, so this was the R.I.P. Mike Howe show. Never thought I'd do this. I have the Metal Church bass player Steve Unger is hilarious on Facebook. I follow him on Facebook. I told him that after the show. I said, dude, you're hysterical on Facebook. He doesn't care what he posts. It's so funny. And he posted, he goes, I can't even believe I'm writing this on Facebook today. So yeah, it's true, and it's sad and the whole bit. But I still have my record here. Again, I just took it out tonight. I still got the original paper on it too. It's kind of neat. Produced by Metal Church and Terry Date is what it is. And it's still got the plastic. It's got the little blue label on there too. I think that they might have changed that when they went to Elektra CBS, but this is the original one. Now I don't even have a record player anymore, so I haven't played this or the the Spinal Tap one or Rush 2112 on record in several years. I mean, it could be 30 or 35 years since I've last played a record. Because, once you get the cassettes and you play them in the car, then you get the CDs. It's like, oh, man, CDs sound so good, Now they argue that records sound better. But I always had the little crackling and the hiss and the skips in my records and whatever. But that's how I learned to play guitar. Put on the record, put the needle down, and start playing the album. Up, let me back it up, lift it up, put it down, play again. That's how you learn guitar back in the day. Now it's all done with computers, and it really helps you out. But anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up here. It's late on the East Coast, but yeah, so we'll be playing Metal Church on the podcast. We'll continue to do that. And hopefully they won't ask us to take us down. They haven't so far. But yep. So I get my original album, my original shirt that I still hang up in the corner behind me. You can't see it when I do the show, but it is behind me above my my little amplifier that I got. So when I play guitar, I have Metal Church. And when I do any videos down in the corner over here with my amp, you'll see that in the background as well. So yep, big Metal Church fan here. This is the newer version of that shirt right there that came with the CD package. I think I like this one here. It's nice and colorful and jazzed up a little bit compared to this one here, which is a two-color screen print with the original logo. But again, this one's 1985, and this one is 2015, I think. So that's that. So I'm going to jump out here tonight, and hopefully I'll get some streaming going tomorrow with some of the games I've been doing, get back to normal here. But it's just a sad day yesterday, sad day today. And just wanted to come on and see if there's any other Metal Church fans out there. Because I know a lot of people are doing these here, just saying goodbye. And yeah, so that is that. So sorry about the sad video tonight, but I did just want to get on here and just talk a little bit about this. Because, again, it's one of the big three for me. Dio, Rush, and Metal Church were the big three for me. There's still a lot of, I like Ozzy and Sabbath and all those things there as well, but these were the more intimate ones. Everybody has an intimate band for whatever reason they like, and so this was an intimate band. So alrighty, so I'm going to jump out here, and again, let's put us back one more time. This is a yeah, that's from the Metal Church website. And sadly, Mike Howe has passed away from Metal Church, and I don't think we'll see any more Metal Church. And it's a big deal for me. So I'm Dave. We'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.